What if one of the internet's most seductive health claims is built on just enough science to sound convincing and just enough exaggeration to go viral? Right now, a so-called missing gut bacteria is being sold as if it could explain everything from poor gut health to bad skin, low mood, weaker muscles, and even social disconnection. That is an extraordinary claim, and extraordinary claims deserve pressure. I am Dr. Vitas, and this is Xenovitas, where we explore longevity, anti-aging, and biohacking. In this video, we are going to break down what this bacteria really is, why some scientists find it genuinely interesting, and where the online narrative goes far beyond what the evidence can honestly support. The claim that went viral. The viral claim is simple, powerful, and highly marketable. It says that modern humans have lost a key gut microbe and that restoring it may improve digestion, inflammation, skin appearance, hormonal signaling, even mood and body composition. This is exactly the kind of idea the internet loves. It offers one villain, one missing piece, and one solution. But real biology almost never works like that. The moment you hear that one bacterium may explain a large part of modern health decline, your skepticism should immediately increase. Not because the topic is fake, but because the bigger the promise becomes, the more important it is to separate true science from storytelling. What this bacteria actually is. Let's begin with the part that is real. The bacterium behind this discussion is called Lactobacillus reuteri. It is a real microbial species that has been studied for years. Researchers have explored its role in the gut and in other body environments, and some strains have shown potentially useful effects in specific contexts. But this is where the first major misunderstanding begins. When people hear one bacterial name, they often assume it works like one universal tool. It does not. In microbiome science, a species name is not enough. Different strains can behave differently, and that means one product, one paper, or one headline cannot be stretched into a universal promise. Why scientists find it interesting? Now, to be fair, L. reuteri is not interesting because of internet hype. It is interesting because it may interact with the body in meaningful ways. Some strains have been studied for their relationship with gut barrier function, immune signaling, inflammation, and certain microbial defense mechanisms. That is the part that gives this topic credibility, and that is also why it gets exaggerated. When a biological mechanism sounds promising, the wellness industry often rushes ahead and treats it like a guaranteed outcome. But a plausible mechanism is not the same as a proven benefit. Science starts with possibility. Marketing skips straight to certainty. Where the internet goes too far, this is where the science ends and the storytelling begins. Online, this one bacterium is often linked to stronger muscles, better skin, higher oxytocin, improved social behavior, and broad restoration of modern health. But many of the flashiest claims are built from early-stage or animal data, not broad, settled human outcomes. That does not make them worthless. It makes them preliminary. And preliminary is exactly the word social media likes to hide. The internet takes interesting and turns it into proven. It takes possible and turns it into everyone needs this. That is not careful health communication. That is how weak evidence gets dressed up as revelation. Mouse data is not your body? One of the biggest problems in wellness content is the lazy jump from animal research to human certainty. Animal studies matter. They help researchers explore mechanisms and generate hypotheses. But a result in mice does not automatically become a real-world consumer outcome in humans. This is one of the most abused shortcuts in modern health media. If an influencer or product page is using early research to promise personality changes, body composition improvements, and systemic transformation, you are no longer looking at disciplined science. You are looking at amplified interpretation. Mouse data can be a starting point. It is not the final answer. What human evidence actually supports? So what is the honest version? The honest version is narrower, less glamorous, and more useful. Some strains of L. reuteri have been studied in targeted areas, especially in digestive health contexts. Certain uses appear more grounded than the dramatic claims seen online. That is how probiotic science usually works, not as a universal life upgrade, but as a specific tool for a specific purpose, under specific conditions. This is the adult way to read the evidence, not by asking, is this microbe amazing? But by asking, for what exact goal, under what circumstances, and with what strain? The biggest mistakes people make? There are three major mistakes people make with probiotics. First, they confuse species with strain. Second, they mistake a mechanism for a result. Third, they expect one product to compensate for a poor lifestyle. That last one is especially important. You cannot ignore fiber, sleep, stress, diet quality, and movement, then expect one capsule to do the heavy lifting. Probiotics may have value, but when they are marketed like miracle shortcuts, the audience is being trained to think like consumers instead of thinking like adults evaluating evidence. One tool can help. One tool is not your entire health strategy. The smart way to think about it. Here is the intelligent way to approach this. If you are evaluating a probiotic, do not start with hype. Start with the question, what is the actual goal? Then ask which strain has been studied for that purpose. What dose was used, how long it was used, and whether the expected outcome is realistic. That framework protects you from being manipulated by a compelling story. And that is the real lesson here. L. reuteri may be a scientifically interesting bacterium, but the bigger value is learning how not to be fooled by oversimplified wellness narratives. In health, the smartest person in the room is usually the one who stays precise. So, is this really the missing gut bacteria? The honest answer is that the story is more complicated than the marketing. The science is interesting, the hype is aggressive, and the truth sits somewhere in between. If this video helped you think more clearly about probiotic claims, please give it a like, share it with someone who may need this information, and subscribe to Xenovitas. In the comments, tell me whether you want me to break down more probiotic claims, gut health myths, or the science of the microbiome. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.